Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Nevada, watching the stars through the main window. The ship had been traveling through deep space for 3 months now. They were far from Earth, farther than any human ship had ever gone. Before, Jake was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had been in space for 20 years, but he had never seen anything like what they found today. "Captain, we're getting strange readings," said Commander Lisa Hayes from her station. She was the ship's tactical officer, a smart woman who never missed anything important. Her fingers moved quickly over her controls as she studied the data. "There's something big out there, really big." Jake walked over to her station. The Nevada was a heavy cruiser, one of Earth's most powerful warships. It carried 800 crew members, all of them trained for deep space missions. They had come out here to explore new star systems and look for signs of alien life. They had found more than they expected. "What kind of readings?" Jake asked. "Energy signatures unlike anything we've seen before," Lisa said. "The computer can't identify the technology. It's coming from multiple star systems ahead of us." Dr. Amy Parker looked up from the science station. She was a small woman with short brown hair and quick hands. As the ship's chief science officer, she had studied every type of alien technology humans had ever found. This was different. "Captain, these energy levels are impossible. Nothing we know about physics says this should work." Jake felt a cold feeling in his stomach. In his 20 years of service, he had learned to trust that feeling. Something was wrong here. Something was very wrong. "Put it on the main screen." The view changed to show space ahead of them. At first, it looked normal. Then the computer enhanced the image, and Jake's breath caught in his throat. Dozens of massive structures floated in space, each one the size of a small moon. Ships moved between them, but these weren't like any ships humans had ever built. They seemed to glow with their own light, and they moved in ways that didn't make sense. "My God," whispered Lieutenant Commander Ryan Torres from the engineering station. He was a young man who understood technology better than anyone else on the ship. His face had gone pale as he studied the readings. "Captain, those ships are phasing in and out of normal space. They're moving through dimensions we can't even detect. Are they hostile?" Jake asked. Lisa checked her sensors. "Unknown, sir. But they're powerful, very powerful. Each of those ships has more firepower than our entire fleet back home." Jake made a decision. "Take us in closer, but keep our distance. I want to know what we're dealing with." As the Nevada moved forward more, details became clear. The aliens had built an empire across multiple star systems. Their cities floated in space like glittering jewels. Their ships moved without visible engines, seeming to bend space around them. And everywhere, smaller ships moved in perfect formation, like they were following orders from a central command. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission," said Lieutenant Katie Wells from the communication station. She was young, maybe 25, with red hair and nervous hands. "It's coming from the largest structure. The signal is strong, very strong. Put it through." The main screen flickered, and suddenly they were looking at an alien being. Jake had seen aliens before, but this one was different. It stood 12 feet tall, with pale blue skin that seemed to glow. Its eyes were silver, and when it looked at them, Jake felt like it was looking into his soul. The alien wore robes that moved, like liquid metal, and there was something about it that made Jake want to step back. When the alien spoke, its voice filled the bridge with power. Even through the translator, Jake could hear the authority in its words. "Unknown creatures, you have entered the domain of the Celestial Dominion. I am High Celestial Zarathul, voice of the eternal gods. You will identify yourselves and explain your presence in sacred space." Jake stepped forward. He had dealt with alien governments before, but this felt different. This felt dangerous. I am Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earth Navy ship Nevada. We come in peace, seeking knowledge and friendship. Zarathal's silver eyes seemed to glow brighter. Earth, this name is unknown to us. No matter. You are. In the presence of gods, mortal creatures. The Ascended Ones have ruled this galaxy for 10,000 years. We are eternal. We are divine. You will submit to our will immediately. Behind Zarathol, Jake could see other aliens moving. Some looked like the High Celestial, but others were different species entirely. All of them moved like servants, like they were afraid. Jake began to understand what kind of empire this was. We don't submit to anyone, Jake said quietly. The bridge went silent. Lisa's hand moved closer to her weapons controls. Ryan started running diagnostics on their shields. Amy watched the readings from the alien ships, trying to understand their technology. Katie kept her hand on the communication controls, ready to send a message to Earth if they survived long enough. Zarathal's expression changed. For a moment, he looked confused, like he couldn't understand what Jake had said. Then his face darkened with anger. You dare refuse the gods? You dare stand in the presence of the Ascended Ones and show no respect? We show respect when it's earned, Jake said, not when it's demanded. Through the sensors, they could see alien ships beginning to move, dozens of them, all heading toward the Nevada. Each ship was larger than their cruiser, and they moved with the confidence of predators who had never known defeat. Zarathal raised one hand, and suddenly the space around the Nevada began to change. Reality seemed to bend and twist. Stars appeared and disappeared. Colors that had no names filled the darkness. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Behold the power of gods. Zarathal shouted, We shape reality itself. We command the very fabric of space and time. Submit now or face destruction. Dr. Parker worked frantically at her station, analyzing what was happening. Her eyes were wide, but Jake could see she wasn't afraid. She was excited. Captain, this isn't magic. It's technology. Very advanced technology, but still technology. They're manipulating exotic matter to fold space-time around us. Jake smiled. For the first time since they had arrived. If it was technology, it could be understood. If it could be understood, it could be beaten. He had spent his whole life fighting enemies who thought they were better than humans. He had learned that. Everyone bleeds. All hands, battle stations, he said calmly. Prepare for combat. The Nevada's crew moved with practiced efficiency. Weapons powered up. Shields came online. Throughout the ship, 800 humans prepared to face an enemy that claimed to be gods. Jake looked at the alien fleet surrounding them and felt that cold feeling again. But this time, it wasn't fear. This time, it was determination. These aliens had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years, enslaving other species and calling themselves gods. It was time someone showed them they were wrong. Today, Jake said quietly, we're going to kill some gods. The alien ships moved closer to the Nevada, like hunters circling wounded prey. Jake watched them on the main screen, counting at least 30 vessels. Each one was twice the size of his ship, their hulls glowing with that strange inner light. That seemed to be their signature. Captain, they're trying to surround us, Lisa reported from Tactical. Her voice was steady, but Jake could see the tension in her shoulders. They're using some kind of phasing technology to position themselves. Our sensors can barely track them when they shift dimensions. Zaratil's image still filled part of the main screen. The alien leader watched the Nevada with those silver eyes, waiting for the humans to panic. Jake had seen that look before, from bullies who thought they had all the power. It was the look of someone who had never been punched in the face. Your defiance amuses us, tiny creatures, Zarathul said. His voice carried the tone of an adult talking to stubborn children. But amusement fades quickly. You will kneel before the Ascended Ones, or you will die. There is no third option. Jake stepped closer to the screen. You keep calling yourselves gods, but I've met gods before. Real gods don't need to threaten people to get respect. They earn it. Impossible, Zarathul hissed. There are no beings greater than the Ascended Ones. We are perfection itself. Dr. Parker looked up from her station, excitement clear in her voice. Captain, I'm reading massive energy expenditure from their ships. Whatever they're doing to phase in and out of normal space, it's using enormous amounts of power. This isn't effortless magic. It's expensive technology. Ryan Torres nodded from engineering. I'm seeing the same thing, Captain. Their power signatures spike every time they phase. If we could force them to do it repeatedly, we might exhaust their energy reserves. Jake filed that information away. Every enemy had weaknesses. The trick was finding them before they found yours. What about their weapons? Unknown, Lisa said. They haven't fired yet, but the energy readings suggest gravity-based weapons. They might be able to create localized gravity fields strong enough to crush our hull. Katie Wells spoke up from communications. Captain, I'm intercepting alien transmissions. They're talking about us on their command channels. They keep using a word the translator can't identify, but from context, it might mean ignorant primitives. Jake almost smiled. Underestimating your enemy was the first step toward losing a fight. What else are they saying? They're confused, sir. They keep asking why we haven't surrendered yet. Apparently, every other species they've encountered has submitted immediately. Upon seeing their power display. Well, Jake said, I guess we're not like every other species. Zarathul must have grown tired of waiting. He gestured with one hand, and the space around the Nevada began to change again. This time, the effect was more dramatic. The stars seemed to stretch and bend. Colors that hurt to look at filled the darkness. For a moment, it felt like the ship was falling through an endless void. Some of the crew gasped. A few of the younger officers stepped back from their stations. But Jake noticed that his senior staff stayed focused on their jobs. They had trained for impossible situations. This was just another day at the office. Impressive light show, Jake said calmly. But we've seen better fireworks on Earth during New Year's Eve. Zarathul's confident expression cracked slightly. You ... You are not afraid? Should we be? You're bending light and space around us. But our ship is still intact. Our systems are still functioning. For gods, you're not very destructive. Dr. Parker was studying her readings intently. Captain, I think I understand what they're doing. They're creating localized distortions in space-time, but they're careful not to actually damage us. This is all for show. They want us to surrender, not to destroy us. Why? Jake asked, unknown. Maybe they want to study us. Maybe they prefer to have living slaves rather than dead enemies. Jake considered this. If the aliens wanted them alive, that was an advantage. It meant they wouldn't use their most powerful weapons right away. It gave the Nevada time to find those weaknesses Dr. Parker and Ryan had mentioned. High Celestial, Jake said. If you're really gods, prove it. Stop playing with lights and show us some real divine power. Zarathul's face darkened with anger. You dare mock the Ascended Ones? Very well. Witness true godhood. The alien leader raised both hands, and the effect was immediate. The Nevada shook as massive gravitational forces tried to crush the ship. The lights flickered. Warning alarms sounded throughout the bridge. Jake felt his knees buckle as the artificial gravity fluctuated wildly, but the ship held together. The Nevada's designers had built her to survive in the worst conditions space could offer. Her hull was made of compressed metals stronger than anything Earth had produced before. Her shields were powered by a quantum reactor that could output more energy than a small star. Shields holding at 70%, Lisa reported through gritted teeth. Hull integrity stable. Whatever they're throwing at us, we can take it. Ryan's hands flew over his engineering controls. Captain, their gravity weapon is powerful, but it's also inefficient. They're using more energy to attack us than we're using to defend against them. If this keeps up, they'll exhaust their power reserves before they break our shields. Jake smiled grimly. Then let's help them exhaust those reserves. All hands, prepare for evasive maneuvers. Make them work for every shot. The Nevada began to move, not retreating but dancing. Jake had learned long ago that a moving target was harder to hit than a stationary one. The ship twisted and turned through space, forcing the alien vessels to constantly adjust their aim. Each time they fired their gravity weapons, the alien ships had to phase in and out of normal space to maintain their positions. Each phase transition used enormous amounts of energy. Dr. Parker and Ryan watched their power readings drop with each maneuver. Captain, Katie said suddenly, I'm intercepting more alien communications. They're starting to sound worried. One of them just asked if we're a military vessel from a previously unknown advanced civilization. And what did their commander tell them? To stop asking questions and destroy us immediately. Jake nodded. Fear was creeping into the enemy ranks. That was good. Scared people made mistakes. And if these aliens could make mistakes, they definitely weren't gods. Zarathul appeared on the screen again, but now his perfect composure was cracking. What manner of creatures are you? How do you resist the power of gods? We're humans, Jake said simply. And we don't believe in gods who threaten innocent people. Innocent? Zarathul laughed, but there was no humor in it. You invaded our sacred space. You refused to show proper respect. You mocked our divine authority. Your deaths will serve as an example to all who would dare challenge the celestial dominion. If you're going to kill us, Jake said, then stop talking and do it. But I warn you, we don't die easily. Zarathul's silver eyes blazed with fury. Very well, you will learn the price of defying gods. All ships, open fire. Destroy this vessel and everyone aboard it. The alien fleet responded immediately. 30 ships unleashed their weapons at once. Gravity waves powerful enough to shatter planets converged on the Nevada's position. The ship groaned under the assault, metal screaming as forces tried to tear it apart. But Jake was ready. Now, Lisa, show them what human weapons can do. Commander. Hayes smiled as her fingers found the firing controls. The Nevada had been built for war, and she carried the most advanced weapons humanity had ever created. Kinetic projectiles, launched from magnetic rails, screamed toward the alien ships at nearly the speed of light. The aliens tried to phase out of normal space to avoid the attack, but Commander Nick Barnes at the weapons station had anticipated this. He had calculated where they would emerge and fired at those positions instead. The first alien ship to be hit seemed to freeze in space for a moment, as if it couldn't believe what had happened. And its hull cracked open like an egg, spilling atmosphere and debris into the void. Silence filled the communication channels. For the first time in 10,000 years, one of the Ascended One's ships had been destroyed by an enemy they considered primitive. Zarathul stared at the wreckage of his ship, his perfect face showing an emotion Jake had never expected to see. From someone who claimed to be a god. Fear. Impossible, the alien whispered. The gods cannot die. The gods cannot be defeated. Jake looked directly into those silver eyes. Then I guess you're not really gods after all. The death of the first alien ship changed everything. Jake watched the remaining 29 vessels hesitate in space, their perfect formations breaking apart as confusion spread through their ranks. These beings had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years without facing a real challenge. Now they were learning what fear felt like. "Captain, I'm reading massive communication traffic between the enemy ships," Katie reported. Her voice was excited as she worked to decode the alien transmissions. "They're asking for orders. Some of them want to retreat. Others are demanding reinforcements." Zarathul's image flickered on the screen. The High Celestial's perfect composure was gone. His pale blue skin had turned darker, and his silver eyes darted around like a trapped animal. "This is impossible. Our ships are blessed by divine power. They cannot be destroyed by primitive weapons. Your ship is just metal and energy," Dr. Parker called out from her station. "Very advanced metal and energy, but nothing supernatural. Once we figured out how your phasing technology works, targeting you became a simple math problem." Jake stepped closer to the screen. "Your people have been living a lie for so long, you started believing it yourselves. But every empire falls eventually. Every king dies. And every false god gets exposed for what they really are." The alien leader's face twisted with rage. "Blasphemy. We are the Ascended Ones. We have conquered 1,000 worlds. We have enslaved 100 species. We are eternal. You're bullies," Jake said quietly. "And bullies always fold when someone hits back." Ryan Torres looked up from his engineering station. "Captain, I've been analyzing the wreckage of the destroyed ship. Their technology is incredible, but it's based on principles we can understand. They use exotic matter to manipulate space-time. But the exotic matter has to be contained in specially designed conduits. If we can target those conduits, their ships become sitting ducks," Lisa finished with a grim smile. "I'm already running targeting solutions. If we can hit their exotic matter conduits, they won't be able to phase anymore." Zarathul heard this exchange, and his expression grew even more desperate. "You dare analyze our sacred technology? You dare reduce divine miracles to mere science?" "Everything can be reduced to science if you're smart enough," Dr. Parker said. "Your people just convinced themselves they were special. But physics doesn't care about your ego." The High Celestial raised his hands again, and Jake felt the familiar sensation of reality bending around them. This time, the effect was stronger. Space itself seemed to scream as Zarathul poured more power into his attack. The Nevada's hull groaned under the assault. "Shields down to 40%, Lisa reported. "He's putting everything he has into this attack." "Then let's make sure it's his last one," Jake said. "Nick, target his ship's exotic matter conduits. Show him what happens when gods bleed." Commander Barnes worked quickly at his weapons station. The Nevada's targeting computer had analyzed the alien ship designs during the first attack. Now they knew exactly where to aim. "Firing solution locked, Captain. Quantum torpedoes armed and ready. Fire." The Nevada's most powerful weapons launched toward Zarathul's flagship. The High Celestial tried to phase his ship out of normal space, but Jake had expected this. The torpedoes were programmed to detonate in multiple dimensions simultaneously, creating an explosion that would affect both normal space and the phased dimensions the aliens used to hide. The flagship shuddered as the torpedoes struck home. Exotic matter conduits ruptured along its hull, spilling energy that looked like liquid starlight into space. Suddenly, the massive ship couldn't phase anymore. It was trapped in normal space, vulnerable to conventional weapons. "Impossible," Zarathul whispered. "The divine retribution is blessed by the eternal gods themselves. It cannot be damaged by mortal weapons. Your divine retribution is a ship," Jake said. "A very advanced ship, but still just a ship. And ships can be destroyed." The other alien vessels were beginning to panic now. Jake could see them on the tactical display, their formations completely broken as individual captains tried to decide whether to fight or flee. They had never faced an enemy that could actually hurt them before. Katie looked up from her communication station, her eyes wide with surprise. "Captain, I'm intercepting transmissions from all over the Celestial Dominion. Word of our battle is spreading. Some of their subject species are asking questions about the Ascended One's divine nature." "What kind of questions?" "Things like, if the gods can be hurt, are they really gods? And if one small ship can fight 30 divine vessels, how divine are they really?" The slave species are starting to doubt. Jake felt a moment of satisfaction. The Celestial Dominion's power wasn't just based on superior technology. It was based on fear and religious awe. If the enslaved species stopped believing their masters were gods, the entire empire would collapse. Dr. Parker called out from her station. "Captain, I'm detecting something interesting. The aliens aren't actually immortal like they claim. I'm reading life signs from their ships, and they're not that different from other biological species we've encountered. They're long-lived, maybe thousands of years, but they can die." "How do you know?" "Because I'm reading casualties from the ship we destroyed. Dead aliens, just like any other dead aliens. If they were really immortal gods, they would have survived the destruction of their ship." This information was spreading through the alien communication channels, too. Jake could see the effect on Zarathol's face. The High Celestial looked like his entire world was falling apart. "The sacred texts speak of divine immortality," one of the alien captains was saying on an open channel. "But if Lord Zarathol can be wounded, if our ships can be destroyed... Silence. Zarathol screamed. "You will not question divine truth. These creatures use trickery and deception. They are nothing compared to the Ascended Ones." But Jake could see that the damage was done. Doubt was spreading through the alien fleet like a virus. Some of the ships were already beginning to withdraw, their captains unwilling to risk their lives against an enemy that had proven it could kill gods. Ryan Torres looked up from his station with urgent news. "Captain, long-range sensors are detecting massive energy signatures heading our way. It looks like they're sending reinforcements." "Big reinforcements? How big?" "At least 50 ships, sir. Maybe more. And they're much larger than the ones we're fighting now." Jake considered their options. The Nevada had already taken significant damage, and they were outnumbered 30-1 by the current force. Fighting 50 more ships would be suicide, no matter how advanced their weapons were. But retreat wasn't really an option either. If they ran now, the aliens would have time to regroup and analyze human technology. They would prepare countermeasures, and the next time they met, the element of surprise would be gone. "How long until the reinforcements arrive?" Jake asked. "Approximately 2 hours, sir." Jake made his decision. "Then we have 2 hours to finish this battle and get out of here. All hands, prepare for maximum combat operations. We're going to hit them with everything we have." Lisa smiled as she prepared the Nevada's weapons for full-scale battle. "What's the plan, Captain?" "We're going to kill as many false gods as possible in the next 2 hours," Jake said. "And then we're going to go home and tell Earth that there's a galaxy full of enslaved species who need our help." The Nevada turned toward the remaining alien ships, its weapons powered up and ready for war. The crew worked with the efficiency of professionals who knew their lives depended on doing their jobs perfectly. Jake looked at Zarathol's image one more time. The alien leader was no longer the confident god king who had first appeared on their screen. He was just another tyrant who had finally met someone stronger than himself. "Last chance," Jake said. "Surrender now, and we'll let you live. Keep fighting, and we'll show the entire galaxy that gods can die." Zarathol's silver eyes blazed with fury and desperation. "The Ascended Ones do not surrender to lesser beings. All ships attack. Show these primitives the true power of gods." The battle resumed with renewed violence. But this time, Jake noticed something different in the alien attacks. They were desperate now, throwing everything they had at the Nevada. Without the careful coordination they had shown before, desperate enemies made mistakes, and Jake intended to make them pay for every single one. The battle had been raging for an hour when the unexpected message arrived. Katie Wells looked up from her communication station with confusion written across her face. "Captain, I'm receiving a transmission on a secure channel. It's coming from one of the alien ships, but it's not from Zarathul." Jake felt his eyebrows rise. In all his years of combat, he had never received a secret message from an enemy during active battle. "Put it through to my private channel." The communication came through as text only, translated into English by the Nevada's computer. The message was simple but shocking. "Human Commander, I am Veltar of the science vessel Eternal Dawn. What you have said about our people is true. We are not gods. I have proof. Will you accept a temporary truce to receive this information?" Jake stared at the message for a long moment. It could be a trap, but something about it felt genuine. Desperate people did desperate things, and if some of the aliens were beginning to question their own beliefs, they might be willing to help. "Lisa, identify the ship that sent this message," Jake ordered. "Science vessel, sir. Smaller than the warships, positioned at the edge of the alien formation. It hasn't fired on us during the entire battle." Jake made a decision that went against everything in his military training. Send a reply. Tell them, "I agree to a temporary truce, but if this is a trap, I'll destroy their ship first." The response came quickly. "No trap, Human Commander. I am transmitting data files now. Study them carefully. They will show you the truth about the Ascended Ones." Dr. Parker received the data transmission and immediately began analyzing it. Her eyes grew wide as she read through the alien files. "Captain, this is incredible. These are historical records going back thousands of years. They show how the Ascended Ones rose to power. What do they say?" "The Ascended Ones weren't always rulers, sir. They were once just another species in the galaxy, maybe a little more advanced than others, but not gods. They discovered exotic matter technology about 12,000 years ago and used it to conquer their neighbors. Over time, they convinced everyone, including themselves, that their technology made them divine." Jake felt pieces of the puzzle clicking into place. So they're just very old liars who started believing their own lies. "That's not all, Captain. According to these records, the Ascended Ones use genetic therapy and cybernetic implants to extend their lifespans. They're not immortal. They just live a very long time. And their population is actually quite small, maybe a few million individuals controlling an empire of billions." This was valuable intelligence, but Jake wondered why Veltar was sharing it. "Katie, send another message to our alien friend. Ask him why he's helping us." The answer came back within minutes. "Because I am tired of the lies, Human Commander. I am a scientist. I believe in truth, not in false worship. For centuries, I have studied our history and discovered the deceptions our leaders have built their power upon. Your people are the first to challenge the lie. Perhaps together we can end it." Jake considered this carefully. An alliance with a rebel alien could be invaluable, but it could also be the most elaborate trap ever conceived. Still, the data Veltar had provided matched everything Dr. Parker had observed about alien technology. "Dr. Parker, what else do those files tell us?" "Quite a bit, sir. The Ascended One's technology has weaknesses. Their exotic matter is unstable and requires constant maintenance. Their ships need specialized facilities for repairs. Most importantly, their phasing technology can be disrupted by specific energy frequencies." "What kind of frequencies?" "The same frequencies our quantum torpedoes produce when they detonate. We've been disrupting their phasing ability without realizing it." Jake smiled grimly. No wonder the aliens were getting desperate. Every shot that Nevada fired was making their signature technology less effective. Ryan Torres spoke up from engineering. "Captain, if Dr. Parker is right about the energy frequencies, I might be able to modify our shields to produce a continuous disruption field. It would prevent any alien ship within a certain range from phasing. How long would you need?" 20 minutes, sir." Jake looked at the tactical display. They still had 45 minutes before alien reinforcements arrived. "Do it. And while you're working, I want everyone to study those alien files. Know your enemy." The next 20 minutes passed in tense preparation. The alien fleet maintained their distance, apparently waiting for their reinforcements to arrive before launching another major attack. Jake used the time to learn everything he could about the Celestial Dominion. The picture that emerged was both fascinating and disturbing. The Ascended Ones had built their empire on a foundation of lies and fear. They had convinced dozens of species that resistance was futile because gods could not be defeated. They had created a religion around their own superiority and used it to justify centuries of slavery and oppression. But the most important discovery was also the most encouraging. The empire was not as strong as it appeared. The Ascended Ones were few in number and dependent on their subject species for everything from food production to ship construction. If those subject species ever realized their masters were mortal, the entire system would collapse. "Captain," Katie called out, "I'm receiving another message from Beltar. He says the reinforcements are arriving early. 53 ships, including Fleet Admiral Kethvor's personal dreadnought." Jake felt his stomach clench. They had run out of time. "Ryan, how's that disruption field coming?" "Almost ready, sir." "Give me 2 more minutes." "You have them. Lisa, prepare all weapons. We're about to face the fight of our lives." The alien reinforcements dropped out of hyperspace like avenging angels. Jake had seen large fleets before, but nothing like this. The lead ship was easily 5 times the size of the Nevada, bristling with weapons that could probably crack a planet in half. The other ships formed a perfect sphere around the original alien fleet, trapping the Nevada in the center. "My God," whispered Commander Hayes. "There must be 80 ships out there now." A new alien appeared on the main screen, and Jake knew immediately that this one was different. Where Zarathal had been arrogant and emotional, this alien was cold and calculating. His silver eyes held the look of a professional soldier who had fought 1,000 battles and never lost one. "I am Fleet Admiral Kethver of the Eternal Navy," the alien said in a voice like winter. "I have come to personally destroy the creatures who dare call themselves God Killers. You have caused enough disruption to the natural order. Your existence will end today." Jake stepped forward. "I'm Captain Jake Morrison, and we're just getting started." Kethver studied Jake with those cold eyes. "You are the one who has filled the galaxy with dangerous ideas. Your actions have caused rebellions on 17 worlds. Our subject species whisper that the gods can be killed. This cannot be allowed to continue." "Then you shouldn't have pretended to be gods in the first place." "We do not pretend. We are what we are." "But you are correct about one thing, Captain Morrison. After today, no one will remember that gods can die, because there will be no one left alive to remember it." Jake felt the familiar cold sensation in his stomach, but this time it was mixed with something else. Pride. The Nevada and her crew had accomplished something unprecedented. They had made an empire of false gods afraid. "You can try to kill us," Jake said, "but the damage is already done. A galaxy knows the truth now. Your slaves know you can bleed. Your empire is finished." Kethver's expression didn't change. "Empires have survived rebellions before. They will survive this one. All ships prepare to fire. I want nothing left of this vessel but atoms." Ryan Torres called out from engineering. "Disruption field is ready, Captain." "Activate it," Jake ordered. The space around the Nevada shimmered as the disruption field came online. Immediately, half the alien ships seemed to stutter in space as their phasing technology failed. They were trapped in normal space, vulnerable to conventional weapons. All ships fire. Kethvar commanded. The combined firepower of 80 alien vessels converged on the Nevada's position. Even with shields and armor, no ship could survive that kind of assault. Jake watched the tactical display and waited for death. But Vel-Tar had one more surprise for them. The alien scientist's ship, the Eternal Dawn, suddenly moved between the Nevada and the incoming weapons fire. The science vessel took the full force of the attack meant for the human ship. Vel-Tar. Doctor. Parker shouted as she watched the alien ship die. A final message came through from the Eternal Dawn as it broke apart. Remember us, humans. Remember that some of us chose truth over lies. End this empire of false gods. Jake watched the alien scientist die for the truth he believed in. In that moment, he made a promise. The Nevada might not survive this battle, but the Celestial Dominion would fall. He would make sure of it. All hands, Jake announced over the ship's communication system. This is our moment. We're outnumbered. 80-1 by an enemy that has ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. But we have something they don't have. We have the truth. And the truth is that no one, not even false gods, can stand against people who refuse to kneel. The Nevada turned toward the alien fleet, her weapons ready for one final battle. Jake stared at the massive alien fleet surrounding his ship and felt something he had never experienced before. Not fear, but a strange kind of peace. The Nevada was about to die, but she would die fighting. Sometimes that was enough. Captain. Ryan Torres called from engineering. I have an idea. It's crazy, but it might work. I like crazy ideas, Jake said. What do you have in mind? Our quantum drive uses exotic matter to fold space for faster-than-light travel. If I overload the drive and create a controlled explosion, I can generate a massive disruption field. It would disable the phasing technology of every alien ship within a huge area. Lisa looked up from tactical. How huge? Big enough to affect their entire fleet. But Captain, if we do this, we'll lose our own faster-than-light capability. We'll be stranded here. Jake considered this quickly. Without their quantum drive, the Nevada could never make it back to Earth. They would be trapped in enemy territory with no way home. But if the plan worked, they might actually win this impossible battle. Do it, Jake said, double quotes, sir. Are you sure? If this doesn't work, we'll be sitting ducks. Ryan, we're already sitting ducks. At least this way, we'll be sitting ducks with a chance. Torres nodded and began working frantically at his controls. I need 5 minutes to set up the overload. Sequence. You have them. Katie, open a channel to the entire alien fleet. The communication system crackled to life, and Jake found himself speaking to 80 alien ships at once. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the USS Nevada. I'm speaking to all of you, not just your leaders. You've been told that your masters are gods, that they're immortal and all-powerful. But you've seen us destroy their ships. You've seen them bleed. You've seen them die. Fleet Admiral Kethvar appeared on the main screen, his cold eyes blazing with fury. Silence. You will not spread your poison among the faithful. The faithful? Jake laughed. Is that what you call your slaves now? Let me tell you something about faith, Admiral. Real faith doesn't need threats to maintain it. Real gods don't need to demand worship. They earn it. Throughout the alien fleet, Jake could see communication channels lighting up as his words spread from ship to ship. The subject species that served aboard the alien vessels were beginning to whisper among themselves. Dr. Parker called out from her station. Captain, I'm detecting power fluctuations in several alien ships. Some of their crews are questioning orders. Kethver's voice cut through the chatter. All ships, ignore the primitive's words. Destroy the human vessel immediately. That is a direct order from a divine authority. But something had changed in the alien fleet. Several ships hesitated instead of firing immediately. Others moved. Slowly, as if their crews were reluctant to follow orders. 4 minutes, Captain, Ryan reported. Jake kept talking, his voice reaching every ship in the enemy fleet. You don't have to live as slaves forever. You don't have to worship beings who treat you like property. We're humans from a small planet on the edge of the galaxy, and we've never knelt to anyone. If we can fight gods and win, so can you. One of the alien ships suddenly broke formation. It was a smaller vessel, probably crewed mostly by subject species rather than ascended ones. Instead of attacking the Nevada, it turned its weapons toward one of the larger ships in its own fleet. Mutiny! Kethver screamed. The servants dared turn against their masters. But it wasn't just one ship. Across the fleet, vessels crewed by enslaved species were beginning to rebel against their Ascended One commanders. Some turned their weapons on their own fleet. Others simply stopped following orders. The perfect formation that had surrounded the Nevada began to fall apart. This is what happens when people stop believing in false gods, Jake said quietly. Kethver's flagship began firing on the rebel ships, but that only made things worse. Seeing their supposed gods attacking their own servants convinced even more crews to join the rebellion. 3 minutes, Ryan called out. The battle had become completely chaotic. Alien ships were fighting each other while Jake watched from the center of the storm. The Celestial Dominion's perfect order was collapsing as species that had been enslaved for centuries finally found the courage to fight back. Katie looked up from communications with wide eyes. Captain, I'm receiving reports from across the galaxy. The rebellion is spreading to other star systems. Enslaved species everywhere are rising up against the Ascended Ones. Jake felt a moment of pure satisfaction. They had done more than win a battle. They had started a revolution that would free an entire galaxy, but Kethver wasn't finished yet. The alien admiral managed to restore some order to his fleet, and the remaining loyal ships began converging on the Nevada's position. You have destroyed everything we built, Kethver said, his cold composure finally cracking. 10,000 years of perfect order, ruined by one primitive ship. For that, you will pay with more than your lives. I will make your deaths so terrible that they will be remembered for 1,000 generations. 2 minutes, Ryan announced. The loyal alien ships opened fire on the Nevada with everything they had. The ship's shields flared and buckled under the massive assault. Warning alarms sounded throughout the bridge as hull breaches appeared in multiple sections. Shields failing, Lisa reported. Hull integrity down to 60%. Jake gripped his command chair as the ship shook around him. Hold together, old girl. Just a little longer. Zarathal appeared on a secondary screen, his once perfect face now twisted with madness. Look what you have done. You have turned servants against masters. You have broken the sacred order. The galaxy will burn because of your actions. The galaxy was already burning, Jake replied. We just gave people the fire to burn down their chains. 1 minute, Ryan called out, sweat beading on his forehead as he worked to complete the overload sequence. The Nevada was dying around them. Explosions rocked the ship as alien weapons found their targets. The lights flickered. The artificial gravity fluctuated. Several crew members were injured when a console exploded on the bridge, but they held on. 800 humans refusing to surrender, even in the face of overwhelming odds. 30 seconds. Kethver's flagship moved closer, its massive weapons preparing to deliver a killing blow. Your revolution ends here, human. Watch your ship die, knowing that your sacrifice accomplished nothing. 10 seconds. Jake looked around the bridge at his crew. Lisa at tactical, still trying to target enemy ships, even though their weapons were nearly dead. Dr. Parker at science, recording everything so that maybe someday someone would know what happened here. Katie at communications, still broadcasting their message of defiance to the galaxy. Ryan at engineering, giving everything he had to complete their desperate plan. Now, Ryan shouted. The Nevada's quantum drive exploded in a controlled burst of exotic matter and energy. The explosion was beautiful and terrible, like a new star being born in the darkness of space. The disruption field expanded outward at the speed of light, washing over the alien fleet like an invisible wave. Every alien ship within range suddenly lost the ability to phase. They were trapped in normal space, their most advanced technology useless. The playing field was finally level. But the explosion had another effect that Jake hadn't expected. The massive energy release triggered something in Zarathal's damaged flagship. The high celestial ship began to break apart as its exotic matter containment systems failed. Zarathal appeared on the screen one last time, his silver eyes wide with terror. This cannot be happening. Gods cannot die. Gods cannot be defeated. Then I guess you were never really gods, Jake said gently. The divine retribution exploded in a burst of light that could be seen across the star system. High celestial Zarathul, who had claimed to be eternal, died like any other mortal being. The psychological effect on the remaining alien fleet was devastating. Their spiritual leader was dead, killed by creatures they had considered primitive. The last of their loyal ships began to surrender or flee. Kethver's dreadnought was the only vessel still fighting. The alien admiral's cold composure had completely shattered. I will not let you destroy everything. I am Fleet Admiral of the Eternal Navy. I am the sword of the gods. His massive ship turned toward the Nevada for one final attack, but it was too late. Ships crewed by freed slaves surrounded the dreadnought, their weapons trained on their former master. This is Commander Yarsef of the Liberation vessel Freedom's Dawn, came a transmission from one of the rebel ships. Admiral Kethver, you are ordered to surrender immediately. I do not take orders from slaves. We are not slaves anymore. The rebel ships opened fire. Kethver's dreadnought, no longer able to phase away from the attack, was overwhelmed and destroyed. The last symbol of the Celestial Dominion's power died in flames. Jake sat in his command chair and looked around the bridge. The Nevada was badly damaged, her quantum drive destroyed, her hull breached in dozens of places. They were stranded in enemy territory with no way home, but they had won. Captain, Katie said softly, I'm receiving transmissions from across the galaxy. The Celestial Dominion is collapsing. Enslaved species are declaring independence on hundreds of worlds. The age of false gods is over. Jake nodded slowly. They had accomplished something unprecedented in galactic history. A single human warship had brought down an empire that had ruled for 10,000 years. What are your orders, sir? Lisa asked,